Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and today we're going to take a close look at the new Osight X and Osight S. This is the full size and the little brother, not to be confused with the first gen Osight, which people generally did not care for. These are really richly feature packed at a really respectable price, and I hope that they are a lot more durable than the first gen ones. But we'll open them up, check them out, test them out, and see how they do. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. Okay, right off the bat, let's talk about the difference between the X and the S. The X is the full-size optic, more for full-size guns, and it uses a standard RMR footprint, where the Osight S is for subcompacts. It's the micro dot, and it uses the RMSC footprint. Aside from that, there's really not a whole lot of difference, other than the X, because it's a slightly larger optic and optic window. They use a 3 MOA dot with a 32 MOA circle versus the S, which uses a 2 MOA dot with a 32 MOA circle. And just to give you an idea of the size comparison, I have them both right here. So here's the X and here's the S. You can see they're much bigger. Now these are with the charging covers, which we're going to talk about here right now, actually. So this is probably the thing that sets these Osights apart from other optics on the market, is that for the first time ever, you don't have to replace batteries. Okay, it comes with a nice charging cover, which charges it even when you're not plugged in. The cover actually has an integrated battery as well for charging it in your range bag or in your safe or something, which is super cool. And then you can just go ahead and pop it on there and it'll tell you the state of charge of your optic. And if you take it off, it will tell you the state of charge of your cover, which is pretty cool. So I am at about 80% on my charging cover, but my optic is fully charged. So this is really awesome because you could see just at a glance if you have enough battery for your range day. Rather than having to carry a whole slew of CR 2032, 123, 1618, 1620s, all those different batteries that I hate having to carry in my range bag just in case one of these optics dies because they don't all use the same battery. This way I know that it's always just going to be good to go. And so this is just a real game changer for me personally, because I just hate having to deal with batteries in optics. If you follow my channel at all, you know I'm a huge fan of Olights. Now, Olight and Osight are now becoming two separate brands, apparently, which is a little frustrating because I was really hoping for some backwards compatibility, okay? Because one of the things that I really love about using an Olight optic on my handgun is that I can have it sit in my safe on the charger and know that it's going to be charged and ready to go. And if I need it, it just snaps off, breaks away, and I'm good to go. And I was really hoping for that opportunity with these optics, especially since the same magnetic charger does in fact attach to the top of the optic there. And so I really thought that I was going to be able to charge it in my safe, and then when I need it, just be able to break it away and it'll be good to go. But unfortunately, this charger is not compatible. Even though it magnets on perfectly like you would expect that it would, this little light here just shows red. And so I tried it, I left it on for several hours, it didn't take a charge. So the only way to charge it is with the charging case, which I feel like a huge missed opportunity for Osight. I think that would make this the perfect optic. If you could save the charging case in your range bag to keep it charged out all day at the range or whatever, and then be able to have this thing charged separately in your safe where it breaks away real quick when you need it. Now, of course, you can put this on in your safe, but you can see it adds a lot of height to it. So if you're using a smaller handgun like bedside safe, it may not fit as well. And then also it doesn't break free as easy, okay? So you're going to be charging it with the included USB-C cable. So this thing will be plugged in here. And so you could have it charging in your safe, which is cool. But then you're going to pull it out. You're going to have to detach the cable. You're going to have to pull the cover off before you're good to go. Now, these things do have shake awake technology, which is pretty awesome. So, and honestly, probably the standard these days. If you are looking at carry optics or home defense optics, most of them will just wake up the moment you pick them up. And these are, of course, both awake right now because I am holding them. So yeah, they basically have all the features that you would expect to see on a standard like Holosun 507. It's set for, in lieu of the solar backup and the side trapdoor for the battery, they just have this brilliant rechargeable battery charging case design. Again, I'm going to reiterate that I just wish that this thing would work for it. That would just make it perfect. But you know what's really going to make it perfect if the dang thing works. So I have to choose here which of these guns I'm going to mount these optics to so we can get out and test them. For sure, the S, the micro optic, is going to go on the subcompact, so it's easy because that's the only one that I have with an RMSC footprint, so that's a no-brainer. Haven't decided if I want to put it on the Mark IV or the TP9 SFX. I really want to put it on the Mark IV, but I think that the recoil isn't going to be adequate enough to test it. So we'll go ahead and put it on the TP9 SFX, I believe. All right, so I wasn't going to film myself installing this thing, but this is really cool and worth mentioning. I opened up the box, and of course included are all the different size screws that you need, and there's a cool little size reference, so you can kind of just compare which screw you need, which is cool. But even cooler is they're perfectly organized and labeled, and then there is tons of extras in there, like 6 of each. I've got just this cool little organized case to put my spares in, which is awesome because I just have a toolbox with all these different screws in them, and it's just complete chaos. I have no idea which screws are what thread. And so this is really helpful. Plus, when you take it out, you can see that they are already Loctated, which is awesome. So it really is just ready for install. So again, something that I didn't notice until I actually mounted it is that this thing actually has glass on both sides. So this is actually a sealed optic. So that is quite a bit different from the, where did it go? The Holosun 507K that it replaced. As you can see, this is open. There's only just this one single piece of glass in the front, and it's completely open. On the back, this has a piece of glass on the back, sealing off the red dot emitter inside. So hopefully that will make this thing a bit more heavy duty. Another interesting development, again, didn't recognize it until I started installing it, but the full-size optic is not a sealed optic. We just have our glass here in the front, and then it's open to the red dot emitter there in the back. So the S is a sealed unit, and the X is not. Very interesting. Not sure why they decided to do that. You may notice that this is a very tall optic, which is really not bad for shooting suppressed. I actually really appreciate that. I'll be able to get that dot way up over the clearing the suppressor, so that is a very handy feature. And on a gun this size, I really don't mind the extra height, except of course, like I mentioned was a concern, the case makes it absolutely huge. I'm not sure this is going to fit in my home defense bedside safe. Of course, this one I don't keep in my home defense bedside safe because it has a suppressor on it, so that would be ridiculous. And it looks ridiculous with that charging case on it. But like I said, for a gun this size, a setup like this, I really don't mind it. Now, one thing that I was concerned about with this thing that turned out to not be a big deal at all is that I thought that with the charging case, we were going to have a clearance issue with backup iron sights. But the way they designed this, and I should have noticed when I first put it on, there's no problem at all. So plenty of room to clear your backup irons. You got to get to the range and put at least a couple of 100 rounds through these guys. Make sure that they are solid, that they can handle the recoil, that they hold 0, and that they're not going to break on you the first time you need to use it. So let's head to the range. All right, firstly, let's see if I'm still on target. Feel good? All right, not too bad. I like that little optic. Okay, now having put a couple hundred rounds through each of these guns and optics, I can honestly say that as a red dot, they're fantastic. Super bright circle dot reticle, very large viewing window, so it's really easy to pick up. They shoot really fast. Big fan of that. So yeah, if you're considering one of these and you're concerned about its function as an actual red dot, I wouldn't have any concerns at all. They definitely feel very rugged, especially the S with it being a sealed optic. I'm a real big fan of that. Now, when it comes to the rechargeable battery, obviously that's the feature that I was the most excited about, and I did love that on the way home from the range I just got to stick the little charging cover on, and by the time I got home, both optics were fully charged and ready to be put back in the safe for the next time I am going to need them. So that's super cool. I do think the execution on the rechargeable battery portion is kind of weird. I don't really understand why a magnetic charging cover is necessary. You're just adding an extra rechargeable battery in there that doesn't really seem all that helpful to me. I feel like a much better execution would be to use a standard Olight magnetic charging cable, and then if you have to charge it on the go in your range bag, just use a USB portable charger, right? Most people have those these days. And so I think the magnetic charging cover is kind of needlessly overcomplicated, and I just don't really see the value in it personally. But the rechargeable battery, I think, is the real winner here. Okay, so if you're going to compare this to like something like the Holosun 507, which I feel like that's going to be their biggest competitor, the 507K or the 507C, because price-wise, they're maybe just a little bit less expensive, and basically instead of the solar backup, you get the rechargeable battery. I think it really is going to come down to its track record. So far, a couple hundred rounds, no issues. It's held accuracy no problem with the included screws using the included Loctite. Didn't have any issues with losing zero. Holosun, I've actually had issues with them, and I've had to send them back to be serviced. They have excellent customer service, and I've never had an issue with it, but they don't have a 100% reliable track record. After 1,000 rounds or so, sometimes they need to be sent back in for service. And I imagine this is probably going to be something similar to that. Of course, time will tell. Now, I don't know how Osight's customer service is going to handle that. Again, something that we're going to have to wait and see. But if you guys have been on the fence about these sights at all, I don't see any reason not to own one, to be perfectly honest. I think that they are awesome, and I probably will get more of them for some of my other guns. I definitely see the value in having a rechargeable battery, if nothing else. Plus, I love circle dot reticles. I love large viewing windows. I know I've already said that multiple times, so I'm kind of like a broken record here. But the execution on the actual red dot is fantastic. If you like this video, you might also like my video on the best budget red dot optics, so check out that video next. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you in the next video.